What's up guys, Houndish here. Today we're jumping in with more Destiny 2 news, as well as Bungie updates, because of course it has been a busy week for Bungie so far, with the announcement of the release date for Marathon, pre-orders going live, and generally it's interesting to see how the community is interacting with this. There is some hype for Marathon, finally, whether you like it or not, right? The game started out in very difficult circumstances last year, and Bungie have essentially presented the game again in the last month or so, with the updated visuals, updated sandbox components, the runners, abilities, and a few more teasers for the endgame. And essentially that's been enough to build back a little bit of trust and excitement for the project. Although I appreciate not everyone is drawn into the whole extraction shooter thing, and of course there are the folks who've been around with Destiny for a long time, who kind of feel a bit burned by Marathon, and to some extent I understand that. Something I was going to discuss though was the fact that Marathon is dropping on March 5th, which is very close to when Shadow and Order was slated to drop on the 3rd, and that seemed like a pretty bonkers idea. However, there are now rumours that Shadow and Order is actually being delayed in some capacity. So this was shared by Paul Tassi, and he does have some really reliable sources. He said, "I've heard Shadow and Order will in fact be delayed to make room for Marathon on March 5th, given that it was supposed to come out on March 3rd. He adds he's not sure how long or when it will be announced, however. Plus he said, "I know it sort of sucks to have Shadow and Order delayed for the Marathon launch, but I get it. I'd do the same thing. It's such a massive day for the studio, while in comparison this is like the 72nd most important Destiny release ever." And whether you're excited for Shadow and Order or not, there is a degree of truth in that, right? In that if Bungie don't succeed with Marathon, that's going to cause a significant problem for the studio in general. That includes Marathon and Destiny. It does, however, come at an incredibly unfortunate time for the Destiny crowd, because we've been waiting for the promised roadmap. Since September of last year, Bungie had said that they will in fact return in 2026 with a full state of the game and multi-year roadmap for Destiny. And while this delay is not confirmed, I think it's safe to assume it probably is true, because Bungie haven't confirmed otherwise just yet. And I do genuinely believe if this rumour started to spread, but Bungie were also preparing to ship Shadow and Order as we speak, then they probably would have drafted a quick update to say, hey, hold your horses, it's not true. And so, the first thing we need from Bungie for the Destiny players is confirmation of if this is indeed happening. If it is going to be a thing, then Bungie will have known for at least a little bit of time right now, and we would hope that they would plan their communications accordingly, right? As we're only a little over a month away from when Shadow and Order was supposed to actually drop. Some folks speculate that when Bungie do give us that official announcement, it could be that we also get the roadmap for Destiny at the same time. Whether that will happen is pure speculation. Obviously, I would love that to be the case, so we'll have to wait and see. The other part of it is the question of how big of a delay actually is this, right? If we're talking about a week or 2 weeks, it's relatively inconsequential, especially if Bungie are purely delaying this to give Marathon the breathing room and to give the teams at Bungie the time and resources they need to make sure that Marathon ships properly. Of course, based on the wording, the delay for Shadow and Order is not because Bungie want to improve on it before they actually ship it, but of course, there may be a component of that as well. Either way, we could be looking at a 1 or 2 week delay, and I would assume it'll probably be 2 weeks or more. However, if we're looking at a much more significant delay, like a month or 2, or indeed longer, then it's safe to say that's going to annoy players, because Bungie could have instead actually made that announcement a couple of weeks back, instead of staying very quiet and leaving players wondering precisely what happens next for Destiny 2, which, unfortunately, we're now left in that position once again in the wake of this news. So precisely how bad this is in regards to Destiny 2 really depends on how long the delay will actually be. Because the other component of this is that while Destiny is quiet right now, and Bungie is spending a lot of time talking about Marathon, there's a perception that Destiny is suffering because Marathon is going to exist, right? And to an extent, how big of an issue that actually is depends on Bungie's commitment to the future of Destiny 2. I think more players will be able to understand if Bungie say, hey, we need a month of kind of breathing room, but we're still fully committed to Destiny, we're still going to drop this roadmap, and hopefully fix all the stuff that's frustrating players at the minute. If that's the case, I think there'll be a lot of players who are willing to give Bungie that bit of space, especially if it means in the long term that Destiny is going to get the support it needs. This news is, however, kind of compounding that frustration though, that Destiny is suffering directly in order for Marathon to actually be produced and to ship. So we're in a really weird time at the minute. Plus, the other component is that Bungie have said they will be publishing a roadmap for Marathon before it launches. And there we can see this kind of secondary negative effect coming up, where if Bungie also haven't made the announcements they need to make for Destiny, they've delayed the next update, also haven't given us the roadmap after what is getting on for half a year, but then additionally dropped the Marathon roadmap. Like I say, it's reinforcing that negative sentiment around Bungie and their approach to Destiny 2. Now, in a perfect world, right, Bungie will drop this roadmap for Destiny in the very near future, and hopefully that will give us some excitement for the future of the franchise overall, as well as the basic information on where we go next. In addition to that, if Marathon ships and is successful, I may be wrong, but I personally really struggle to see Bungie needing the same level of resources in the Marathon development team in order to actually support it as a live game, in contrast to building and shipping the full game, right? And so if Marathon does drop and is a success, that could actually open up more avenues for Bungie to put resources back into Destiny 2. Some folks will describe that as copium, and maybe it is to an extent, but the simple reality is that we won't know until we know, right? It's all going to depend how well Marathon does. And there may even be an additional part where, from a business standpoint, if Destiny doesn't have many updates that are engaging players, but there's still a hunger for Bungie content in some form or another, perhaps Bungie feel that they could tap even more into the Destiny audience by actually having a bit of a content lull in Destiny itself. Regardless, the absolute key thing that Bungie need to do is to communicate with the Destiny crowd. As I've said personally, I can kind of tolerate Bungie taking a little bit of extra time in order to ship Marathon, especially because it's something that I'm actually kind of interested to check out. But like most of us, that is only going to work if they communicate with the Destiny audience, because the Destiny audience is who've actually kept Bungie afloat for all these years, right? They wouldn't have been making Marathon if they didn't have a Destiny crowd. Bungie speak a lot about community, and while their business interests are obviously important for the success of the studio and all of the franchises they hold, they also need to have the level of respect and recognition for the Destiny crowd who want to know what to look forward to in the future of the game. So those are my thoughts, but that's the news part. A very likely delay for Shadow and Order, but we simply don't know how long. You'll have to give me your thoughts down below, but if you found the video useful or interesting, a rating would really help us out. As I've said recently, I will be tracking Marathon here on the channel, especially through the launch because it's just such a big moment for Bungie. But additionally, if Destiny is going to be in a quiet period, waiting for the roadmap, waiting for Shadow and Order, and everything else that follows, while I do have a degree of personal interest in Marathon, I also don't have a lot of choice but to try and make a go of it. So Destiny is going to be the staple, but additionally, Bungie is going to have to be the broader subject matter for this channel. Otherwise, yeah, I just can't survive if Destiny's going to go quiet, and I can't afford risking not getting involved with Marathon, especially because it's looking like more and more Destiny players are actually going ahead, pre-ordering the game, or at the very least are going to jump into the open beta. So that's the additional part about the channel and where we're at. But believe you me, I want Destiny to succeed. Destiny is my favorite game, and while I think I'll have fun with Marathon, I don't think it will be a long-term replacement for what Destiny brings to the table. And I think a lot of hardcore Destiny fans feel the same way. So I'll be doing my best for you guys. Give me your thoughts below. Drop us a rating if you've enjoyed the video as well. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day.